Well over 250,000 Canadians have signed a petition to revoke Elon Musk's Canadian citizenship. Musk responded to this in a since-deleted tweet saying Canada is not a real country. So I guess he doesn't care if his citizenship is revoked? Now, we'll get into whether this can actually be done and whether it's ethical to do it in a second. But first, I want to tell you about an extra juicy factor here. Since this is an official parliamentary e-petition sponsored by NDP MP Charlie Angus, and it's gotten this much support and climbing, this screenshot's already outdated, the government technically has to table a response to it. When these official petitions get more than 500 signatures by the time they close, a government response is required to be tabled within 45 sitting days. So if Parliament returns and if we aren't immediately plunged into an election, that second one is a pretty massive if, because we probably will be, then the government will have to respond not only to this petition about Elon Musk's citizenship, but also another petition that Angus sponsored, which calls on the government to, quote, refuse Donald J. Trump entry to Canada until such time as he ceases and desists making threats or taking actions contrary to the well-being of Canadians. Almost 30,000 Canadians have signed this, and again, this screenshot is likely already outdated. Okay, but back to Musk and his citizenship. The petition was initiated by a BC author and was sponsored again by NDP MP Charlie Angus. That's how this works, so if you ever want to do one, Canadians initiate a petition and then MPs are the ones who sponsor them. And most MPs will sponsor almost any petition that comes from their own constituents, so it shouldn't always be taken as a sign that they support something. They might just be wanting to make sure their constituents' voices are heard. And sometimes the voices are a little bit loopy. But when MPs sponsor petitions from outside of their riding, that can be taken as a bit more of a signal that they may actually support it because they went out of their way to sponsor this petition. And in this case, the e-petition is from BC, which is very far from Charlie Angus's Ontario riding. And it specifically lays out the following, quote, whereas Elon Musk has engaged in activities that go against the national interest of Canada, he has used his wealth and power to influence our elections, he has now become a member of a foreign government that is attempting to erase Canadian sovereignty, and the attempts of Elon Musk to attack Canadian sovereignty must be addressed. We, the undersigned citizens of Canada, call upon the Prime Minister to revoke Elon Musk's dual citizenship status and revoke his Canadian passport effective immediately. Whoo, boy, that's a biggie. It's also the second most signed e-petition in Canadian history and climbing. But could the Prime Minister actually do this, and should he? I'm sorry to break it to the hundreds of thousands of Canadians who have signed this petition, but no, Canada can't strip Musk of his citizenship because of a petition. Elizabeth Thompson of the CBC did a really good piece digging into this very question. And she found that under Canadian law, a person's citizenship can only be revoked if it can be proven that they committed fraud or misrepresented themselves to get it. And if you think about it, that is probably for the best. While it's all well and good to enjoy the idea of Musk, who is genuinely the worst, being stripped of his Canadian citizenship, what would happen if we set a precedent where technically anyone's citizenship could be stripped if enough of their fellow Canadians, and certainly not a majority, even in this case, signed a petition for it? That would obviously be a super dangerous precedent and not one that we'd want to set. So we can enjoy this as a nice symbolic FU to one of the worst dudes in history, especially when you consider what a massive baby he is, so he'll probably genuinely be upset by this. But it's probably better to focus the bulk of our energy on other things, like Musk's clear desire to shape elections around the world, including here in Canada. What do you think of all this?